I was up early in New Smyrna Beach, the usual start to a good day on the FEC. Waking up on the beach side, I was greeted by the sounds of a northbound across the intercoastal. I decided to try chasing the train up US 1, an impossible feat during daylight hours. I hoped the lack of cars this time of day would make for an easy drive, but the timed traffic lights were working their charm. The slow speed of US 1 and usual sprint of FEC really made a fool out of me, and I finally gave up in Bunnell. Not all was lost, however, as I stumbled upon one of the most intriguing trackside artifacts I've ever seen. There's a lot of history behind this so-called mile marker equation, but I had little time to investigate as my luck quickly turned with a sunrise southbound. The railroad had thrown a tasty bone at me this morning in the form of a late train 109, providing a rare opportunity to see a morning southbound along the north end of the line. 109 and counterpart 202 are the only trains that are not primarily intermodal, therefore making them the lowest priority pair on the system. 109 is usually out of Jacksonville in the pre-dawn, so I couldn't pass up the opportunity to chase a daylight southbound along the north end. But before I give chase, let me first digress and explain that squirrely milepost. Up in St. Augustine, the railroad's Wilbur Wright Industrial lead splits off the main line and runs about 5 miles to a dead end in an industrial park. Now a bike trail, the tracks used to extend all the way into Palatka, where they swung back east and into Bunnell. Both trains to Palatka and the tracks they traveled on are a distant memory for the FEC, leaving nothing more than that intriguing milepost. Called a mile marker equation, it tells us just how far we are from the start of FEC trackage in Jacksonville via both main lines. By way of the old Palatka main, it's 86.4 miles south of Jax and an even 67 via the current main line. From here on south, the mile markers are counted up via the Palatka main, thus adding an extra 19.6 miles to the 341-mile route into Miami. I caught up to 109 at the Harwood Pass track, which sits at milepost 98. This really means we're only about 78 miles from Jacksonville. Back in my early days, I knew 109 as a southbound extra because, well, that's what it was. FEC revamped 109 into a scheduled road train, doing away with the rogue 109 I used to know and love. Back when it was an oddball extra, I saw the train in Stuart as it crossed over the St. Lucie Canal. My dad and I had waited for this train for hours, but it was worth it. What I would give to see a consist like this in 2020. Running along the intercoastal for much of the trip, and with beautiful bridge crossings such as St. Lucie, the FEC inevitably passes through copious amounts of oceanside tourist traps. However, the tracks swing inland between St. Augustine and Ormond, creating a beautiful section of track cutting through the lush Florida forests. It all ends here at the Harwood Pass track as the south end of the siding overlaps with the northernmost developments of Ormond, with suburbia more or less continuing along the main line all the way into Miami. There are still great spots along the main, like the sweeping curve at Spruce Creek. I'm usually on the other side of the tracks, but the late running southbound allowed me to pull off a neat new angle. It wouldn't be an FEC train if there wasn't a cut of intermodal alongside junk freight. The railroad simply puts everything on the same train, providing a refreshing departure from Class 1 unit trains. It's really cool to watch this method of railroading firsthand, and I have to believe it's one of the reasons FEC is so successful. The railroad is known for running these long, truly mixed trains, but 109 is a whole different animal this morning. So much so that northbound intermodal 226 took the New Smyrna Pass track in order to dodge the long, loud, and heavy southbound. I moved about half a mile down the tracks just in time to hear the GE and EMD duo tearing their train out of the pass track. The lineup looked real good and sounded even better. After 226, I made the decision to hang around for local 915 out of Titusville. 915 routinely runs with a single Jeep, but it's always worth my time to stick around in case something special pops up. And whenever 915 came into view, I was thrilled I had waited. A weekday turn job from Titusville to New Smyrna, 915 had quite a hefty train on this Friday morning. Pinky number 425 was a total bonus, one of two that FEC has dedicated to breast cancer awareness. After pulling north of the yard, 425 shoves the consist back onto track 4. This morning's 915 was so massive that the train was split up within the yard, with manifest on track 4 and the intermodal block onto track 3. By far my favorite looking 4-axles and quite possibly some of my favorite engines all around, I was quite happy that the railroad sent 425 my way. After doing away with the inbound freight, 425 was to maneuver onto an awaiting cut of rock hoppers on track 5. Stopping to couple up to the hoppers, I got a nice little photo shoot of the 425. The bright pink stripe looks great along with the deep blue, and looked even better as it basked in the morning sun. GP 40-2 number 425 was repainted by FEC in 2013, along with sister number 436. Both have been railfan favorites ever since. Letter to CYXX for Conrad Yelvington, these 4-bay hoppers were destined for the Daytona facility, not on 915's agenda. The 3-bay open and closed top hoppers were on the agenda, which meant that the Daytona cut had to be sorted out of the consist before 425 coupled onto its cut of hoppers. Now I'm not sure why, but I've always been fascinated by these shorty-covered hoppers. I believe this batch is captive on the FEC, going back and forth between the quarries of South Florida and the processing plants of New Smyrna and Jacksonville. With everything in order, it was now time to make the shove south towards Tarmac. Very happy I had seen the 425, I decided to wrap things up on a great note. Thanks for railfanning with me today, and don't forget to subscribe if you liked this video.